What is going on, you guys? My name is Nick, and I'm back, baby. Okay, so to be completely honest with you guys, I got back from my vacation about 3 weeks ago now, and ever since I got back, I've just been in this constant cycle of laziness, and I know a lot of you guys out there can relate to that. Maybe not particularly with YouTube, but with something out there, procrastinating, putting something off forever, just especially when you come off of a week-long vacation where you're in a completely different state, and it's a completely different mindset, right? Coming back, it's a little jarring, but it's time for me to break out of that mindset and get back on the saddle. And what better way to do that than to start with talking about my favorite IP in the world, Marvel, specifically the Marvel Disney Plus shows, specifically ranking every single Marvel Disney Plus show, which is only 6 up until Captain Marvel comes out, and then I'll update this list, so on and so forth. But yeah, you guys, enough jibber jabber, let's just jump right into this list. Coming in last place is a show that for a lot of other people is their bottom show, and that is What If. And to me, this show, up until, not even up until a point, just like throughout the season, there were scattered gems. Like, you had your Doctor Strange episode, you had your T'Challa episode, you had the final episode with Ultron, right? Like, aside from those 3, all the other 6, right? The other 6 episodes, even the Marvel Zombies episode, man, I really wanted to love that episode so much. They were just so boring, and I don't want to say uninspired, but that's just what it felt like. It just felt like it was having content on Disney Plus with the Marvel logo in front of it for the sake of having content. Now, if you guys enjoyed those episodes, don't let me deteriorate from your opinion. You own that shit. You love that, right? But for me, it just didn't really work for me. Now, I believe a part of that could have been because it was an anthology, and the fact that none of these things that we see in these episodes are ever going to have any sort of repercussions within the MCU. I don't give a shit how many people keep theorizing that that the evil Doctor Strange in Multiverse of Madness is the Doctor Strange from What If. It's not. It's not whatsoever. What If is strictly a multiversal story of what would happen if things went the other way. These are not going to be in the MCU. Just because we got Captain Carter in Doctor Strange does not mean it is the exact same Captain Carter as the one that we saw in the first episode of What If. Sliding into the number 5 spot is a show that in the first 3, I'd say 4 episodes because it's a 6-episode season. In the first 4 episodes, I was really invested in the show. And once they brought Black Widow's sister, what's her name? Florence Pugh plays her, Yelena Belova. Once you bring her in, it was so much fun because her character is so charismatic, and the way that she plays off of Kate Bishop and Hawkeye, obviously that's the show we're talking about, it was so awesome. But those last 2 episodes, I don't know what they did. It was like other people wrote it entirely and made this show. And once they introduced Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin, they somehow made it to where he was not menacing or threatening whatsoever. He was kind of like a bitch, which, if you've seen Daredevil, if you've seen Vincent D'Onofrio play Kingpin before, you know that he can be menacing, that he's a fucking terrifying character. He literally slams a guy's head into a door and cuts his head off. Like, he's pretty intense of a character. Now, am I expecting that to happen in the MCU? No, and I understand that this is not an exact carbon copy of the Marvel Daredevil Netflix Kingpin, I know, but there are some things that you need to carry over, and I feel like that menacing quality to him was just completely misguided, and I don't know why. Up next is a show that in the beginning, you're going to see a common theme throughout most of these shows, that in the beginning I really enjoyed them until the latter half, whether that's the last episode or the last 3 episodes, because Marvel, I've been noticing, especially with their shows, they kind of have this tendency to just go full CGI battle at the end of whatever show they're doing, and in some cases that works, but within certain shows, like Moon Knight, for example, it does not work for me that well. Moon Knight's not my number 4. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier is my number 4. But, man, to me, Falcon and the Winter Soldier and Moon Knight have relatively the same issues when it comes down to why I don't like the show as much as I did in the beginning. And that's just because of the ending. The ending just turns into this, or devolves into this big CGI battle mess that is just less interesting than the character work that we've had throughout the season. I wish we could have gotten a lot more of that character resolution rather than a lot of the action resolution. And you're going to hear me echo that again when I get to Moon Knight, which is my number 3. So Moon Knight's my number 3, literally up until the last episode. I will give it, some people don't like 5 and 6, but I enjoyed 5 personally. I felt like it was a very eye-opening episode, especially for Steven and Mark as characters. But the way Moon Knight stuck the landing is that they didn't. They broke their fucking legs when they hit the ground. Because, I swear to God, the whole episode just turned into this big, not convoluted, but this big CGI battle mess that just, it kind of took away from what the show was setting up and doing up until that point, with a lot of psychological examination into a person's mind, especially with DID. It was very interesting, and I felt like we got a lot of the action conclusions, like a lot of satisfaction when it came to that end. But when it came to kind of finalizing the psychology of everything, not finalizing, but kind of fleshing it out, finding a good place for the story to end, and just giving it some sort of resolution, right? It just, I didn't feel that when it came to the mental aspect of Moon Knight, and that's why it's number 3. It would have been number 1 if they stuck the landing, I can tell you that much, though. Alright, coming in second place is the show that I hands down had the most fun watching, and that is 100% attributed to the community interaction and the just week-to-week anticipation of the show. Will Mephisto show up? Will he not? Is Magneto going to show up? Is Professor X going to show up? Is Doctor Strange going to show up? Obviously, I'm talking about WandaVision. Now, you may be asking, Nick, how is this your most, fun to watch show, like the most fun you've had with it, yet it's not your favorite? Because, can you guess? Yep, you guessed it right. That last episode, they really know how to fuck up the last episodes when it comes to Disney shows. Because that last episode of WandaVision had so much to live up to that it didn't live up to anything in my eyes. Like, when she turns the town back to normal and she lets everyone go, I thought that was the best moment of the episode. The whole fight between her and Agatha was just, it was so fucking boring. I honestly don't know how more boring that fight could have gotten. And I think for the most part, people will agree with me that last episode, I wouldn't say it took away from the rest of the season as a whole, but it definitely kind of left a sour taste in my mouth when it came to WandaVision. And I've been itching to rewatch it, but every time I get ready to watch it, I'm like, dude, I'm going to have to watch that last episode again, and I'm going to get really fucking disappointed with how it ends. So my number 1 show is, you obviously know what it is, just because there's 6 shows. I've already said the 5. There's fucking 1 left. What is it? But this show, if you asked me back when they released the original lineup of the Disney Plus shows, like the names of them, I definitely would not have guessed that this would be my favorite. I probably would have said Moon Knight or maybe Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but man, Loki blew me the fuck away. I love that show, and honestly, out of every show that we've seen so far on Disney Plus, Marvel-wise, this is the show, to me, and I say to me because I know that maybe the WandaVision finale lands a little differently for you than it did for me, or maybe the Moon Knight finale landed a little better for you than it did for me. But for me, Loki as a whole, from beginning to end, had a concrete story that felt like it had a beginning, middle, and a very, very satisfying end. And not only was the end satisfying, it changes the MCU as we know it as a whole, allowing for a lot of elements in No Way Home and Multiverse of Madness to happen that a lot of these other shows, I'm sorry to say it, they don't really have that much ability to change the MCU, other than maybe WandaVision because of what happens with her character and what we see her do in Multiverse of Madness. But outside of that, that's about it. I mean, from that very first episode of Loki watching his own death to the end where Sylvie kills He Who Remains, and all of the timelines begin to crash into each other and split off, and we see all these different timelines, incursions and shit, and it is, I just want to go watch it right now. I'm so happy that I loved Loki as much as I did, and I cannot wait for Season 2. Thank God it's not a limited series, because I need Season 2 now. I need Season 2, and I need Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania to come out, because I really want to see some more King the Conqueror. Anyway, you guys, that has been my list. What did you guys think of my list? What is your guys' list? I'd love to hear what you guys have to say down in the comment section below, but feel free to leave your thoughts and opinions down there. Just be nice. Please don't beat me up because I like Loki more than WandaVision. I know, I'm sorry. But yeah, you guys, that is all I have for you today. Please stay safe. Nowadays, anything can happen. Anything. So just be safe, hug your loved ones, tell them you love them, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.